What's going on, guys? It's Jake Camaro here with another episode of Initial Thoughts, and today we're going to be taking a look at Gears of War Judgment, which was released on March 19th, 2013, and it is an Xbox 360 exclusive. It was developed by People Can Fly and Epic Games, and it was published by Microsoft Studios. And it's a third-person shooter, and it's actually a prequel to the Gears of War trilogy. You've got Gears of War 1, 2, and 3, and then this is before all that, but after E-Day. So you're taking control of Baird, who you saw in the Gears of War trilogy, and you're also he's in Kilo Squad, and he's actually like the commander of that of Kilo Squad, and then you're also going to be playing as Cole, which you also know from Gears of War 1, 2, and 3, and then you're going to be playing as two new characters, Sophia and Paddock. You play all four of them throughout the campaign, and then you double back as Baird for the very end. But so the game is basically made up of most of it is a flashback. I'm not going to really spoil a lot, but pretty much Kilo Squad is put on trial for committing a war crime, which you find out what it is later in the game, and I'm not going to spoil any of the story by talking about that. But so you experience a bunch of flashbacks when each character testifies what happened. So you actually, for some of the level, hear voiceover from the future, and I mean from like the present, looking back at the past, and you complete missions, and the way you complete missions is actually really different from Gears of War 1, 2, and 3, because instead of having like a longer like mission, it's actually split up into really small like sections of the game, and then each of those sections you actually earn stars for just doing pretty much anything. So whether you get like headshots or explosive kills, or you just get normal kills, and then at the end of the game you see how many stars you've accumulated, and you get like achievements and unlocks based on how many you've done, and then you can go back to each mission and then try to get 3 stars. And in that mission, you could actually accept something called a declassified mission. I think it's called a declassified like section, where some like element of the game changes. So you're still playing through the same section, but something like changes, like you only use a specific weapon, or there's like different enemy types that are like harder. There's more enemies. You take more damage, you have less health, something to like hinder your efforts to make the game a little bit more difficult. And then if you do accept a declassified mission, you have a lot more of a chance of getting 3 stars in that segment, and then there's a declassified mission for every single segment of the game. So there's lots of different declassified missions, and then you don't have to accept actually like every one of them. You can go into one segment of the game, choose one declassified mission for one segment, and then just not do it again. In the beginning of the game, the first like segment, I choose a declassified mission, and then I think I choose like one more a little bit later. But so that's pretty much like the basis of the game. And first, let's talk about graphics a little bit. So the graphics in Gears of War, just the series in general, I've always been really impressed with. It runs Unreal Engine, and this definitely lives up to that standard. The graphics are a notable improvement over Gears of War 3, mostly because the lighting is a lot more brighter. Like Gears of War 3 was, very dark and very gray. Although there were some colors, it's nothing compared to Gears of War Judgment. And there's one part in the beginning of Sophia's testimony, which unfortunately I was not able to include in this gameplay. In this, you're just going to be going through most of Act 1, where you're playing as Baird in the very beginning of the game. But in that part, you go into this one area and you step out onto this bridge, looking at this like training academy, and the sunlight just makes the lighting look really good. And I was really impressed with it when playing it. I kind of forgot I was playing on the Xbox 360 actually, and I really like the look of Gears of War. Just all of the effects that they include, like the particle effects, are really good. And the flaming effects have also been notably improved. Like right here, you can see, looking right at the screen, that the way it like reflects off all the surfaces is really cool. And as you can see in the corner now, I'm starting to gain some points for killing some enemies. And then most of the same gameplay elements are back. So you can do like the roadie run with pressing A and melee people with your chainsaw and just punch them and pretty much do everything you could do in the old Gears of War games, except for one difference. So from now on, instead of using the D-pad to select one of like 4 type weapons, so you've got like 2 primaries, then a secondary like pistol, and then you've got your grenades. You actually switch your 2 primary weapons, so you don't have a secondary now. You just have 2 weapons with the Y button. And then when you want to throw grenades, you just press the bumper. Another cool thing with pressing the bumper is that you don't have to always use like the aim down sights like effect where it like shows the trajectory of the grenade. Now you can just immediately tap it and then it throws out. You can also just hold the bumper and then you get the same trajectory controls. But it's really nice for just you need to fling a grenade like immediately. You can do that now without having to like switch over. But the only problem with that is of course you don't have as much like different weapons, so it's a little bit more apparent in multiplayer. But you really never have a pistol in the campaign anymore. You're really just going to want to pick up like 2 primary weapons, and then right here, this is like the declassified like area, and it says like the dark wretches replace the normal wretches, and you can accept and decline that. I of course accept it, and then in the corner it kind of slides out to reveal that like Gears of War logo, and then it the amount of points that you get towards your like star increases, and then it can actually review it at the very end. So right here, this is a pretty good graphics section in the game. As you can see, I don't know, I just think the effects in this game are way better than anything I saw in Gears of War 3. And I was really impressed with it just playing through the entire game. It never really failed to amaze me. There's never one part of the game where it just looked really bad and stuff. But I think just all in all, the game, the graphics and the gameplay are much improved. More the graphics over the gameplay, but the gameplay is still as good as past Gears of War games. And if you really enjoyed them, you're really gonna enjoy the campaign of Gears of War Judgment. All the enemy types are back, and everything like that. And I've already beaten the Gears of War campaign, and you can play through it with 4 people, just like you can in all the other Gears of War games. But you really are going to want to play through this game with more than one person, because it's a little bit more difficult to get 3 stars in a segment with just one person. And then the AI, I thought the AI was reasonably good in Gears of War 3, but as I was playing through Gears of War Judgment in the campaign, the AI was just not up to Gears of War standards. I thought that they spent way too long just wandering around when I was down, waiting to revive me. When I was playing with my friend, when we were both down, like when I got down first, then one of the 2 AI characters came up to me, and then when my friend went down, they immediately, without even reviving me, just like turned around and went to revive him. So the AI I was a little disappointed. I thought that it was really just not up to the standards and pretty dumb. So I'm hoping that with the next Gears of War game, they will kind of bring it back up to Gears of War 3 standards, as well as expand upon it. But all in all, you're going to want to be, if you want to get the full experience, you're really going to want to get a friend to pick up this game. Of course, split screen is supported, but I've never really been a fan of the split screen in Gears of War, because it just doesn't give you a very large field of view. Maybe it's just because it's a third-person shooter, but I like the split screen a lot better in like Call of Duty or Halo. So if you're going to be playing this game through split screen all the time, say you have a sibling or something, and pretty much every time you play the game, it's going to be with somebody else. You'll probably get used to it, and it'll be just fine. But when you mostly play like single player with one person, like I do, and then you go over to your friend's house and they also have the game, it's going to take a little bit of getting used to for the split screen. There are just normal cutscenes in the game where it goes to the past, and then every act it's completed, it goes back to the present day segment. So you're not going to be seeing, although it is a flashback, you're not going to be seeing a ton of like the current time until once you completed all the testimonies. Then it turns over to the current time, and that's when you finish the game. But right here, it's kind of showing you what you got for completing that segment. Unfortunately, I almost got all 3 stars, but I could not do that, and then you can see your headshots and stuff. and then you move into a different area. It is optional to move into the different segments, so if you wanted to like go back and look for collectibles, you don't have to immediately move on to the next point in the game. So I think that's pretty much good for campaign. All in all, it's a really fun experience, and everything was just really enjoyable playing through it. Although it's not the longest campaign ever, and I think that it kind of seems shorter because of all the segments. It seems like you're always like going through segment after segment after segment, which does give you the whole like one more game attitude about it. But I just feel like because of uh, because of the segments, it just seems the way the like levels are split up. I feel like the campaign just does not seem as long as, say, Gears of War 2's, which takes forever to beat. And that's maybe just because the multiplayer was expanded upon, which we'll talk about right now. So the multiplayer in Gears of War Judgment, the whole party system and stuff is very similar to Gears of War 3, and that's pretty much you'll see that across most of the game. The way that the menu is laid out, as well as the way that you get into the campaign, and then the way you get into multiplayer and customize your character, it's very similar to Gears of War 3. So if you didn't like, the way the game was set up in Gears of War 3, you're not gonna like Gears of War Judgment. But I actually happen to like it. I like the whole like party system, similar to what was in Halo Reach. So I thought it was rather good. It's got the same leveling system that's relevant across all areas of the game. So the campaign, you rank up as well as the multiplayer and overrun, which we'll talk about in a second. And then you can change like your character's skin as well as your weapon skin. The only thing with the weapon skin is that there's two ways to unlock your weapon skins, and this goes the same way for the character skins. There's some that can be unlocked through getting these like prize boxes, which you get every time you get a certain amount of medals, kills, or stuff like that, or just playing the game in general. And then there's another part of like there's another like portion of the weapon camo area where you have to use microtransactions, which is really annoying. For 1,600 Microsoft points, you pretty much unlock all camos for all weapons, but I think that's just really expensive. And I wish what Epic Games and People Could Fly, I wish that they would have made it so you can use microtransactions to purchase every camo, but then you can just if you want to unlock them normal without having to pay any money, it would just take a long time to go through each of the prize boxes, because it's kind of annoying that I pretty much can't get 2/3 of all the camos in the game unless I want to pay extra money, which I really don't want to do. So I do kind of hope that they reflect upon this and don't include so many microtransactions in the next game. But that's just kind of how the world works now in terms of gaming. So they're gonna get a lot more money through it. So I can't really see them changing that up with the next game, unfortunately. There is a VIP season pass, which includes access to, I think, the next 3 map packs, as well as a VIP playlist, which gets you a little bit more XP. I think they said it was double, but it doesn't really seem like double to me. Maybe I'm just seeing things, and I've just played so much VIP, I don't really know how much XP you get for playing normally. But it could be double XP, but it doesn't really seem like double XP to me. And then you can also buy double XP through, of course, microtransactions. And I don't know if with the VIP pass it adds on to that or like replaces it. I'm sure you could just get it if you don't have the season pass / VIP pass. I think it's known as the VIP pass, but I call it a season pass. But then the only problem with that season pass is that for the multiplayer, and you are hearing me right, it comes with 4 multiplayer maps. Yes, we're not including the overrun maps, we're including just the standard competitive multiplayer maps. It comes with 4 of them. So that's not really acceptable to me, and I think that they could have went a little bit further and included a little bit more. There was a a downloadable map pack called Haven, and it did include it was free, and then it did include a new game mode and a new multiplayer map. But I feel like they could have just included a little bit more for somebody who just does not want to buy anything else, and I just got really bored of it. So There's also another 4 to overrun. So, you know, you've got the 4 for overrun, you got the 4 for just normal team deathmatch, COG versus COG, and all the normal multiplayer modes, including free for all, which is new. And so, but you can't go back and forth. So you will only play those 4 maps in overrun, and you will only play those 4 maps in COG versus COG. So there's one interesting gameplay element that they decided to keep out in multiplayer, and that's down but not out. So, you know, in all the other Gears of War, as well as in the Gears of War Judgment campaign, when you went down, you go into this like bleeding out segment where you had to like rapidly press A, and then you could like crawl around, and then a teammate could come up to you and revive you. While this is present in Overrun as well as the campaign, that there's no, it's not in team deathmatch like whatsoever. So there is no like executions in normal COG versus COG, which is a little annoying, and I feel like I don't know why they took that out. I thought that that was like one of the trademark features of Gears of War, and I'm just kind of disappointed that they, you know, left that out. Another thing is how you customize your weapons. Now you can only choose one primary, and then you can choose your grenade type, so you always get just like the standard pistol, and then you can like choose between a bunch of different grenades. One thing that me and my friend were a little annoyed about is that when you're playing split screen multiplayer, not like online multiplayer with a friend, where you're playing split screen multiplayer on the same system, and then you want to like change your weapon type, you actually have to go into the game, like in the game, actual like in the gameplay multiplayer. You have to press pause. Each person who wants to change their weapon, they have to press pause, go through a couple submenus, and change their weapons. And then that also pauses the other person's screen. In single player, when you spawn, on your screen you've got this like toggle on the bottom, and then you can like press left to choose your primaries, press right to choose your grenades. But you have to pause it in split screen, which was really weird. I don't know why they took that out. I hope that they add that and change it with a patch, but for right now, it's kind of annoying whenever you have to change your weapon, because the other person is pretty much just gonna like stand there and be a sitting duck while you're changing everything. So the competitive Gears of War, I thought it was okay. I chose not to include in the gameplay because I am terrible at Gears of War multiplayer. I have no idea why. Maybe it's just because I'm so new to the franchise. This is actually the first Gears of War game I'm actually buying on its release day. I got my first Gears of War game with Gears of War 3 back last year. But, so, I'm just not great at it, and although my kill-death ratio is less than 1, I think I'm getting a little bit better, but I'm still not ready to include any gameplay of it on the channel, because kind of my whole basis when I started out YouTube is that I don't want to include any terrible gameplays. So for right now, anything you'll see of this game will either be Overrun or the campaign. No team deathmatch or anything like that. So next, let's talk about Overrun, which I've actually talked about a lot during this initial thoughts episode. But so Overrun replaces Horde mode. So there's no Horde mode in Gears of War Judgment. Hopefully it'll be back in Gears of War 4 or whatever next Gears of War game it is, because I really enjoyed Horde mode. But this is actually like a multiplayer game mode where there's 4 different classes. So you've got they're each like 4 for the COG, and then there's like different classes for the Locust. But so you've got your normal like engineer, you've got your medic, you've got your sniper, and then you've got your like heavy like gunner with like ammo and stuff. And each of these character models represent the characters from the campaign. So like Baird is the engineer, Paddock is the sniper, Sophia is the medic, and Cole is like the heavy gunner. And I feel like that's pretty cool. I definitely enjoyed it, and I like playing the medic a lot, and it kind of like changes up your strategy, because it's kind of like Battlefield 3 in that each person really each team has to have at least one of each character class, otherwise they won't be successful. So I really enjoyed that. Although the Locusts don't really have that, the way that they get their soldiers is a little bit differently. So in the beginning, you've got like 4 individual characters, and then you actually get points based on how you do during Overrun, and then you can get like a lot more powerful characters, and then they'll use up your points and stuff like that. But so the Locust always is attacking, and the COG is always defending. And each map is like made up of 3 stages. So In two they have to destroy e-holes, and in the third they have to destroy a generator. Um, and I thought that it was really fun. It was really enjoyable, and me and my friend have definitely played that game mode the most out of the time that we've played Gears of War Judgment. And it's just really enjoyable, and I think that is by far my favorite part of Gears of War Judgment. It just adds some really cool strategy and mixes it up in terms of like survival game modes. So you can also play this just normal, like you're the cog, like real people are the cog, and then the AI is the locust. But all in all, I really enjoyed Overrun, and I will definitely keep you playing that. Hopefully they'll come out with some new Overrun maps. I think that in that map pack, that free map pack I mentioned, it was only a multiplayer map, so it's been expanded to 5 multiplayer maps and 4 Overrun maps. But I hope that they add more Overrun maps, and I'll definitely keep playing that throughout the year. And I don't know, it's really enjoyable for me. So that is pretty much the end of me kind of talking about Gears of War Judgment. Um, Based on the amount of content there is in Gears of War Judgment, I think there's really good. Oh yeah, one extra thing. So there's this one segment in the game where you can actually go back and play a part of Gears of War 3, and this is called Aftermath. And you unlock it after you beat the campaign, and it's probably probably takes about an hour, and it's kind of like a section of Gears of War 3, which wasn't really explained at all. And you get to play as like 4 characters, and I think that's pretty cool, and it adds a little bit onto the game. But I don't really see a lot of replayability because they get rid of like the stars and the declassified sections. Strangely enough, they do have like the only 2 weapons switch and stuff, which is a little interesting. But that's worth mentioning, although it doesn't really make up a ton of the game. So Gears of War Judgment has a lot of content in it, and I think for the die-hard Gears fan, although they may be annoyed about some changes, notably the deletion of Down But Not Out in the competitive multiplayer modes, I still feel like this is a very solid offering in the Gears of War series, and I will definitely keep playing it throughout the year. There was no collector's edition or anything, but I did actually get the original Gears of War with Gears of War Judgment, which I already have the disc-based version of the original Gears of War. So maybe I'll have like a giveaway of that or something. I mentioned that in my unboxing. But, so yeah, I think if you're a die-hard Gears fan, I think this would be a pretty good game. And if you've never gotten into Gears of War, I think this would be a great area to start out, because although there's not a huge explanation of like the basis of the game, I think that the way that the story is a little bit separate from the original like Gears of War story arc, it's a pretty good time to start out the game. But I do suggest going back and playing at least Gears of War 1, just to understand the story a little bit more. So that's pretty much the end of this video. All in all, Gears of War Judgment, a very solid game, and I definitely I'm happy I purchased it, and I'll keep playing it throughout the spring and waiting for some summer games. So tell me what you think about this game, because there's been a lot of debate about the community like having a little bit more of a mixed reception to the game than I did. So just if you have any thoughts about this game, please leave it down in the comments below. And if you guys like this video, please thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.